Last week, we talked about decision making in the context of investment decision making. What resources do we want to apply to a certain thing? Resources could be time, it could be money, it could be people, it could be energy. This week, let's apply a different tool. The tool that we're going to apply is the Eisenhower Matrix. And if you've read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you might have been introduced to the Eisenhower Matrix at that point in time. This actually comes from former President Dwight Eisenhower, going way, way back in the way, way back machine. So first thing we want to understand is this thing urgent or not urgent? On the x-axis, we want to go urgent versus not urgent. We have urgent versus not urgent. That's the x-axis. And we want to go through and say, okay, is this thing that I'm need to make a decision on right now? Like, is the patient bleeding out? Did someone fall and get hurt? Do I need to pick somebody out? Is somebody walking toward the edge of a cliff? Whatever that thing is, if that's happening, urgent, go ahead and do it. There's no reason to go through a 2x2 to kind of figure out whether or not it's something you should engage in. So urgent versus not urgent. Is this something that has to happen right now? Many times we as leaders will make things urgent for the people that work with us without even thinking about it. So be really careful about the requests that you make to your people and whether or not you highlight urgency versus not urgent. Let them know, is it urgent or is it not urgent? So urgent versus not urgent on the x-axis. The next thing I want to understand is importance. So important on the y-axis, not important. Now, like anything else, as things get plotted on these axes, they might fall in different stages. So something might be super urgent where I've got to make a decision really quickly and there's not enough time to even get into the important side of things. If I've got a little bit of time, then I can create some space, then I can go through and start to look at it. Is this important or is it not important? What I like to do is think about how I can move this y-axis left or right. How do I move that y-axis left or right from an urgent versus not urgent perspective? Sometimes your response to clients are going to be a little bit different than responses to what you might do in your household, or the other way around. You might respond to people in your household a little bit faster than you do clients. It's all a decision that you're making on your side. The key reason that a tool like this is really helpful is it creates a slight pause, a slight speed bump. First one that I'm looking at from a linear perspective is urgent versus not urgent. The second one, the shift in perspective, is importance, not important versus important. All right, let's talk about practical application of a tool like this. So if I've got something that is not urgent, not important, I would ask you this question: why the heck are you doing it? These are the kinds of things that are really easy to eliminate. Not urgent, not important. Doom scrolling on Twitter, doom scrolling on Instagram, whatever those things are. Not urgent, not important. Those are super simple things, maybe hard to eliminate, but the decision making on whether or not you should eliminate it is probably pretty easy. You get onto this side of things, urgent, and we have two different types. We have those things that are not important, and we have those things that are very important. So not important from whose perspective? In this not important but urgent kind of thing, if it's important to somebody else but not important to you, maybe you can actually delegate this kind of stuff. You can move it off to somebody else. Maybe that's something you can delegate. If it's something that is urgent but not important to somebody else, so it's urgent to you, not important to somebody else, maybe you actually have to take ownership of that thing because it's urgent for you but important and also important to you. So this is where what Eisenhower would say, do. So at the top, important and urgent, he would do. Urgent, not important, he would delegate. Not urgent, not important, he would eliminate. And then this is where we differ. On here, in this top area, this important but not urgent, Eisenhower would say that you make a decision. So there'd be a question mark on what you do here. My view and how I use this tool for me personally is I want to spend the majority of my time in those things that are important but not urgent. Important but not urgent typically are the dial movers. These are the really big things, the things that don't have to happen immediately, but could really benefit from applying some mind share some thinking, some testing, some assessment. So this is how I use the Eisenhower Matrix. I want to spend the majority of my time up in this area. Eisenhower would say that he would spend the time there actually deciding whether or not somebody should do something. On this side, he would actually do the important and urgent things. Anytime that I'm being driven to do things based on a level of urgency, I'm allowing myself to be controlled by the clock or controlled by some other external circumstances. Yep, I get it, some issues around there, but this is how I would apply a 2x2, like the importance versus urgence or Eisenhower matrix, into making more effective decisions from a time management perspective. If you'd like to check out the time tracker that we have, this 2x2, that'll help you over the course of a 5-day period keep track of the things that you're doing and categorize those in the context of importance versus not important, urgent versus not urgent, just respond back to this, and Jen and I are happy to share it with you. The 2x2, to summarize, is really about adding another criteria to help inform decision making. I like to use 2x2s like this to help create a slight speed bump, a slight shift in perspective, help reduce risk when it comes to making decisions. If we're making decisions all in a certain line, meaning we're only focusing on the things that are urgent, we may not get to the things that are important to us. If we're only focusing on the important things, we may be missing some smaller things that are out there that ultimately could impact others, that could help people move forward, which is what leadership is. I'd love to hear from you how you use 2x2. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper into this, you can check out the time tracker we have. Just send us a note. If you know somebody else who's looking for a way to learn, think, and act, share this video with them, share the newsletter with them, and keep moving forward. That's what leaders do.